got a little wet in Florida, but we're good now.
Oh, yeah.
Just coming back to the off-season program, you're more entrenched now. You got a long-term contract. Do you kind of put a little bit more on your plate as far as leadership and just having more of a presence in the locker room?
Yeah, I feel like, just being on a multi-year deal, I think you can definitely take more ownership in the team, but it's kind of also just part of the center position. You have to be that vocal leader in the offensive line room, and I feel like I've done that last season. I'll just continue to do it going forward.
Seems like there are a lot of candidates to be the backup center, to get some work at center this offseason. What can you say about some of the young guys, Cal, Casey Poe, Keith? I mean, what's that group looking like?
They're all really good players. I feel like we have a lot of depth in the room at every single position. I feel like obviously there's some that are older than others and have a little bit more experience, but even the young guys like Poe and Kel, I think they do a really good job of taking coaching and understanding what the coaches are asking them to do, and then just making sure to look at the guys in front of them and try and emulate that as much as they can, and hopefully one day they'll get their shot to be on the good field.
Being that you lined up on the opposite side of him fairly recently, what was your reaction when you signed Hargrave?
Oh, it's awesome. You always want that type of guy on your team. The guy, he definitely made it hard to game plan the Eagles, and it was definitely a hard time blocking him. So I feel like whenever you have a guy like that on your defensive line, it just adds to the value as a whole.
As someone who plays next to Spencer Burford, what makes him a promising young player?
I mean, he has all the measurables, right? Like, if you look at the guy, he's just built to play offensive line. And then also, I feel like he has a good head on his shoulders, and he can really, get things done, make the proper decisions he has to make, and execute, the job that he has in hand. So, I feel like it's onwards and upwards for that guy.
You had to wait a long time for the opportunity you got last year. Was that the time at which you were ready, or do you feel like your first, whatever it was, 5-6 seasons in the league, you were ready, but you just didn't get the opportunity?
I'd like to say that I was ready my entire career, but looking back, I probably wasn't my first couple years. But also, just being able to work with Coach Furster for so long, and being able to be in his system and his type of offensive line, I feel like every single year I was in that room and in that system, I feel like I progressed heavily. So, in my honest opinion, I feel like I was ready to start probably in 2018. But just having the opportunity to do it last year and have my career get extended another 4 years, especially with a great team, I feel like that's just something I'm very fortunate of.
And Nick Zakelj is a candidate to be at right tackle. What have you seen from him? What do you think he has in his arsenal to be able to take over that position?
So he's got great strength and great balance. I feel like he's physically he's got all the attributes to get the job done. And then now it's just, can you go out there and can you execute the technique that coaches want him to execute? I feel like he has everything that they want from him, and now it's just time for him to go out there and get it done.
Chris Borst is a lot of fun to interview. He gives very detailed, transparent answers. What makes him a good coach? Like, what do you like about working with him?
So he's kind of one of the originators of his type of offensive line play. He's not a just grinded out type of guy. He gives you tools and gives you techniques to get the job done that make it easier for us and also easier for him to get the offensive line moving and the run game going. So I feel like he's really unlocked the ability and the technique used to have great success in the NFL, in the run game and also in the passing game. So just being able to have a guy like that in the room teaching us kind of what he wants, but also what the league wants to get the job done, and it's transferable across the league what he's teaching. So it's great.
Can you give us an example?
Something that interests you? as a fan, do you watch it, pay attention to it, or do you just kind of shut it out?
Now it's definitely interesting, for sure. You know, when I was kind of floating around the league, it wasn't really something I paid attention to. And also I was kind of bitter not being drafted back when it was my time. But now it's definitely interesting to kind of watch and see the ins and outs of each team and how they choose the players that they choose.
Do you remember what people said about you? Did it burn in your memory what you saw on reports and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, words are words, you know. I knew the truth, the entire time, regardless of what people were saying. It just didn't work out for me on draft day, but it's fine. It worked out for me now. So.
Why do you find it more interesting now? Is it like competitive reason, like who you might be up against, or is it just an overall landscape of the NFL thing?
I think it's just kind of interesting to see the business side of, you know, where I work and what I do. You know, I feel it's, you know, having the ability to see where the future is with the team that you're on and kind of what they're investing in and where they think they need to, you know, to add to the team is just something that's, you know, it's worth paying attention to.
Can you give us an example of what Coach Forster has done for you individually, just, you know, projecting it forward and being like technique-wise?
So, like a lot of centers will be asked to pull set, which is something that you basically just back up off the line of scrimmage on almost every single pass play. And that gives the defensive line basically a 5 foot to 6 foot head start to just run as fast as they can out of their stance right at you. And yeah, that works. I mean, it works for a lot of players and it works for a lot of teams, but you know, Coach Forster having the square back and over square set for the centers really allows us to stay pretty tight to the line, but also put us in a good position where if there's a TT game or if there's a pirate by the 3-tech or whatever it is by the defensive line, that's something that we're in a good position, but we're not giving away depth of the pocket for no reason.
As far as the draft, do you guys who work out here ever kind of bump into guys who are here on 30 visits, and do you interact with them? And if you do you then kind of go on YouTube and look at what those guys can do in college and stuff like that?
That's probably something that gets done. You know, I've never been a guy to work out or in the off season where I work, just because I like South Florida and I like trying to get away a little bit. But yeah, I mean, obviously there would be a draw to that if you brush up against a rookie or somebody coming into the draft that, you know, looks impressive or obviously your team is invested in. Just kind of see their background and what type of player they are.
Just having a lot of familiar faces back in the building, what's the energy and outlook of the team heading into this awesome program?
I think it's really optimistic. You know, I feel like a lot of people are happy to be back and ready to get to work. And you know, I missed last week just because I was dealing with the flooding down in Fort Lauderdale, but you know, I feel like I haven't really skipped a beat at all. And people are really ready to just hopefully go on another run like we did the last 2 seasons.
Did that flooding, did that impact your gym or anything? And did you see Bosa down there at all and deal with him?
I saw Bosa.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Yeah.
But you know, I feel like not to get too personal,
yeah.
but there's a lot of homes that got touched with water. We had 2 of them, which sucked.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just something that people see on the news, and you know, obviously they have a lot of, you know, personal value to their house, and they lose a bunch of items. But it's pretty crazy to go through something.
You don't work out at his gym, do you, with his brother?
No, that's an exclusive, access only workout facility. I think there's two people that work.
Right.
You
you have to be a Bosa.
Yeah.
Work on that.
More for Jake. You finished? All right, Jake.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Jake.